The massive ships emerged from hyperspace on an ordinary Tuesday morning, their obsidian hulls absorbing sunlight like cosmic wounds in the sky. Commander Rihanna Patel stood at the United Earth Defense Force headquarters in Geneva, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays, showing the vessels positioning themselves above major population centers. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment. "Multiple objects detected in high orbit, Commander," announced Lieutenant Omar Hassan, his fingers dancing across the sensor controls. "Energy readings are off any known scale. They're broadcasting something." The message came simultaneously in every human language, transmitted to every device capable of receiving signals. The Nexarians, as they called themselves, spoke of peace and technological exchange. Their ambassador, First Speaker Thelrix, appeared as a towering figure of shifting crystalline segments that caught and reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. Rihanna attended the first diplomatic meeting alongside Dr. James Wong, Earth's leading xenolinguist. While global leaders celebrated the apparent dawn of a new era, something about the Nexarians' perfect responses and flawless cultural understanding set off warning bells in her mind. They knew too much, adapted too quickly to human customs and social norms. "They're hiding something," she confided to James during a private moment. "No first contact should be this smooth. It's as if they've done this before, many times." James nodded, his usual scholarly enthusiasm tempered by concern. "I've been analyzing their language patterns. There are inconsistencies, subtle ones, but they're there. It's like they're reading from a well-rehearsed script." Rihanna began secretly gathering data, coordinating with military intelligence officers worldwide. The Nexarians had established cultural exchange centers in every major city, offering glimpses of their advanced technology while gathering crowds of amazed humans. 3 months into their arrival, she discovered the pattern. The Nexarians weren't just collecting data, they were cataloging human weaknesses. Their scans weren't medical examinations but military assessments. Their cultural centers were strategically positioned for maximum civilian casualties. The attack came during the global celebration of Unity Day, a holiday the Nexarians themselves had suggested to commemorate first contact. As millions gathered in streets and squares worldwide, the obsidian ships revealed their true purpose. The beams struck with surgical precision, targeting not military installations but places of human connection: schools, hospitals, community centers, and family homes. The Nexarians weren't just attacking infrastructure, they were attempting to break humanity's spirit by destroying its bonds. Rihanna watched in horror as Geneva burned, the defensive systems she'd helped design proving useless against the Nexarians' advanced weapons. But as she coordinated the evacuation of survivors into underground bunkers, she noticed something unexpected. Instead of breaking under the devastating losses, humanity united. Former enemies shared resources, rivals became allies, and strangers risked their lives to save one another. The Nexarians had fundamentally misunderstood human nature. Trauma didn't weaken their bonds, it strengthened them. In the secure command center beneath the Alps, Rihanna gathered the remaining military leaders. "They think they know us," she declared, her voice steady despite the exhaustion of sleepless nights. "They've probably done this before, perfected their invasion strategy across countless worlds. But they made one crucial mistake." She pulled up a holographic display, showing the growing network of underground resistance cells. "They thought destroying our families would break us. Instead, it's made every survivor part of one giant family. And we protect our family." As the first day of war drew to a close, Rihanna received reports of humans already salvaging Nexarian technology from crashed scout ships, of scientists working to understand their weapons, of soldiers organizing guerrilla strikes. The Nexarians had expected submission in the face of overwhelming force. Instead, they had awakened humanity's most powerful weapon: the unshakable determination to protect what they loved, no matter the cost. The war for Earth had begun, and humanity would prove to be unlike any species the Nexarians had encountered before. Deep beneath the ruins of Lagos, Dr. Marcus Adebayo's laboratory hummed with stolen alien technology. 6 months had passed since the Nexarian betrayal, and humanity had adapted to life underground with remarkable speed. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow as he examined the crystalline structure of a Nexarian power core through an electron microscope. Their technology isn't as incomprehensible as we first thought, he explained to Professor Yuki Tanaka, who had traveled from the Japanese resistance through a network of underground tunnels to share research. They're not gods. They're just very, very old. The lad was a testament to human ingenuity. Salvaged equipment merged with Earth technology in ways the Nexarians had never imagined. What the aliens saw as primitive tools, humans saw as opportunities for innovation. Where they relied on pure power, humanity found efficiency. Look at this, Marcus said, pulling up a holographic model of the Nexarian shield generator they'd recovered. They're using brute force to maintain their defensive fields. But if we modify the frequency distribution and introduce adaptive harmonics, his fingers danced across the interface, showing how human creativity could improve upon alien design. Yuki leaned forward, her eyes widening. They never considered this approach because they've never had to. Their technological advancement has been linear. They've never faced the constraints that forced humans to think laterally. The breakthrough came when Marcus's team discovered something extraordinary about Nexarian technology. It was designed to be perfect, but not adaptable. Their weapons were incredibly powerful, but couldn't adjust to unexpected conditions. Their shields were nearly impenetrable but followed predictable patterns. They're like a boxer who's never been hit, Marcus explained during an emergency meeting with resistance leaders. They've won so many fights with their overwhelming power that they've forgotten how to improvise. Commander Patel's voice crackled through the secure communication channel from Geneva. Can we exploit this weakness, Doctor? Marcus grinned, pulling up schematics for a modified pulse weapon. We already are. Every piece of their technology we salvage gets redesigned, improved, and reproposed. They expect us to simply copy their designs, but we're doing something they never anticipated. We're making them better. The underground facilities became a hub of frantic innovation. Engineers who once designed smartphones now crafted combat systems that could penetrate Nexarian defenses. Automotive factories were converted to produce hybrid vehicles incorporating alien tech. Even children contributed, their unconventional thinking helping to solve problems that stumped adult scientists. But Marcus's greatest discovery came from an unexpected source, a failed experiment. While attempting to reverse engineer an Nexarian communication device, his team accidentally created a feedback loop that temporarily disrupted the aliens' crystalline biology. Their physical form isn't natural, he explained to a stunned audience of resistance leaders. The Nexarians aren't just technologically advanced, they've modified their own bodies over millennia. But this has made them vulnerable in ways they never expected. The implications were enormous. The Nexarians' apparent perfection was their greatest weakness. They had optimized themselves for a universe that behaved according to their expectations. Human unpredictability, their greatest frustration in trying to subdue Earth, could become their downfall. As Marcus prepared to share his findings with resistance cells worldwide, alerts blared through the underground complex. Nexarian forces had detected their facility and were moving to attack. But instead of panic, the human scientists moved with practiced efficiency, activating their newly developed defenses. Let them come, Marcus said, watching as his modified shields hummed to life. They'll learn what every other empire throughout history discovered too late. Innovation comes from necessity, and humans have always been very, very good at surviving. The battle for Lagos would become a turning point in the war, as Nexarian forces encountered human ingenuity at its finest. The resistance hadn't just adapted alien technology, they had transformed it into something new, something the Nexarians had never seen in all their millennia of conquest. The time had come to show the invaders that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or their numbers, but in their endless capacity to adapt, improve, and overcome. Lieutenant Jun Nakamura stood in the shadow of a modified Nexarian scout ship, its once pristine hull now bearing the marks of human engineering. The underground hangar in Mount Fuji buzzed with activity as resistance fighters made final preparations for Operation Stormbreak. After 9 months of hiding, humanity was ready to strike back. Status report on the neural interfaces, Jun asked, watching as technicians calibrated the hybrid control systems. The Nexarians had designed their ships to respond only to their crystalline biology, never imagining humans would find a way to bypass these restrictions. "All systems green," responded Chief Engineer Ramirez, her hands moving across holographic controls with practiced ease. "Dr. Adebayo's biotech modifications are holding stable. The ships recognize our pilots as legitimate commanders now." The plan was audacious, perhaps even crazy, but that was exactly why Jun believed it would work. The Nexarians' perfect predictive models couldn't account for human improvisation. They had never encountered a species willing to attempt something so fundamentally irrational. "Remember," Jun addressed the gathered pilots, "the Nexarians think in straight lines. They expect us to either charge directly or retreat. They don't understand feints, they don't grasp deception, and they certainly don't expect us to use their own ships against them." The first phase of Operation Stormbreak began at dawn. Across the globe, resistance cells launched synchronized attacks on Nexarian patrol vessels using conventional weapons, exactly what the aliens expected. Their response was immediate and predictable, redirecting forces to crush what they assumed was a desperate last stand. "They're taking the bait," Jun reported to Commander Patel as the Nexarian fleet moved to engage the decoy forces. "Their battle computers are following standard protocols, just as Dr. Adebayo predicted. They're completely focused on the obvious threat." That's when Jun's squadron struck. Rising from hidden bases worldwide, the modified scout ships joined the battle. To the Nexarian sensors, they appeared to be loyal vessels responding to the human attack. By the time they realized something was wrong, it was too late. "Execute pattern chaos," Jun ordered, and her pilots broke formation in ways that would have been impossible in the original Nexarian vessels. The stolen ships, enhanced with human modifications, moved with an unpredictability that the aliens' targeting systems couldn't handle. The battle above Tokyo became a dance of impossible maneuvers. Human pilots, their brains linked to hybrid control systems, pushed the ships beyond their intended capabilities. Where Nexarian pilots relied on perfect execution of predetermined strategies, humans improvised, adapted, and broke every rule of space combat. "They're trying to adapt their tactics," Jun observed as the Nexarian fleet struggled to respond. "But their decision-making process is too rigid. They can't handle this many variables." The true genius of Operation Stormbreak wasn't just in the stolen technology. It was in its exploitation of the Nexarians' fundamental weakness. Their civilization had evolved to value perfection above all else, eliminating uncertainty and chaos from their society. But in doing so, they had lost the ability to handle the unexpected. As the battle raged, Jun's squadron deployed their secret weapon, Dr. Adebayo's resonance disruptors. The devices sent out pulses that interfered with the Nexarians' crystalline biology, causing confusion and disarray among their forces. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens experienced fear. "All units, press the advantage," Jun commanded, watching as the Nexarian fleet began to fragment. "They don't know how to handle failure. They've never had to recover from a defeat." The battle lasted hours, but its impact would reshape the war. When the dust settled, humanity had secured its first major victory. More importantly, they had shattered the myth of Nexarian invincibility. The aliens retreated to their orbital stations, forced to confront an uncomfortable truth: they had fundamentally underestimated humanity's capacity for adaptation. In the aftermath, Jun stood before a holographic display showing the day's victories. The Nexarians thought they were gods, she told her exhausted but triumphant pilots. Today we showed them they're not. They're just another species that forgot a fundamental truth. Perfection is stagnation, and stagnation is death. As reports of similar victories poured in from around the globe, Jun began planning the next phase of the operation. The Nexarians would regroup, would try to analyze and counter human tactics. But that was exactly what humanity was counting on, because while the aliens were trying to perfect their response to today's battles, humans were already innovating something new for tomorrow. Admiral Diana Torres stood on the bridge of the Defiance, Earth's first true hybrid warship. Built deep within the asteroid belt, it represented everything humanity had learned during their year-long war with the Nexarians. Its hull incorporated salvaged alien technology seamlessly merged with human innovation, creating something entirely new. Final system check complete, reported Navigation Officer Rodriguez, his consciousness partially merged with the ship's hybrid controls. All stations report ready. Diana surveyed the assembled fleet, a mix of converted Nexarian vessels and human-built hybrid ships. After Operation Stormbreak's success, the Resistance had accelerated their shipbuilding efforts, hidden shipyards scattered throughout the solar system working tirelessly to prepare for this moment. The Nexarians are marshaling their forces near Mars. Commander Patel's hologram reported from Earth Command. They're gathering every remaining ship for a final push. Our intelligence suggests they've called for reinforcements from other conquered systems. Good, Diana replied, a grim smile crossing her face. Let them come. Everything we've done has led to this moment. The past 3 months had seen a dramatic shift in the war. After their defeat during Operation Stormbreak, the Nexarians had fallen into disarray. Their perfect society had never developed protocols for failure, and each defeat made them more rigid, more desperate to reassert control through overwhelming force. They still don't understand. Dr. Adebayo's voice came through the command channel. Every time they try to perfect their response to our tactics, we've already moved on to something new. They're fighting yesterday's war while we're inventing tomorrow's. Diana had spent weeks coordinating with resistance leaders worldwide to prepare for this final battle. The plan was characteristically human, complex, adaptable, and just crazy enough to work. They would use the Nexarians' own perfectionism against them one last time. All ships, execute Phase 1, Diana commanded. The human fleet split into seemingly random groups, each adopting different tactical patterns. Some charged forward aggressively, others held defensive positions, while others appeared to retreat in disarray. The Nexarian response was exactly as predicted. Their battle computers, attempting to calculate the optimal counter to each human formation, began dividing their forces to address each threat according to their perfect tactical models. They're spreading themselves thin, Diana observed, just like they did when they first arrived on Earth, positioning themselves to control everything, unable to accept any deviation from their perfect plan. That's when she gave the signal. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, thousands of miniature hybrid drones activated. Dr. Adebayo's latest innovation combined Nexarian power cores with human swarm intelligence, creating weapons that could think and adapt faster than any tactical computer. The Nexarians' perfect formation became their perfect trap. As they struggled to maintain optimal positioning against the human fleet's chaotic movements, the drone swarms struck from every direction. Their crystalline ships, designed to withstand massive energy weapons, had no defense against thousands of small, unpredictable attackers. All ships, commence Phase 2, Diana ordered. The human fleet's scattered formations suddenly coalesced into coordinated attack patterns. Each group moved with practiced precision, but their combined movements created a level of chaos that the Nexarians' battle computers couldn't process. The battle became a testament to everything humanity had learned, where the Nexarians relied on perfect execution of predetermined strategies. Human ships adapted their tactics moment by moment. Where alien vessels maintained rigid formation, human crews improvised and supported each other instinctively. In the command center of their flagship, The Nexarian leaders watched in growing horror as their perfect military machine began to crumble. Their reinforcements arrived only to find themselves engulfed in a battle they couldn't understand, facing an enemy that refused to behave according to any rational model. "Send the final message," Diana commanded as the tide of battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. The transmission went out on all frequencies, broadcast in the Nexarians' own language. "You came to our world believing you were superior. You thought our emotion made us weak, our chaos made us primitive, our imperfection made us inferior. Today you learned the truth. Humanity's greatest strength is not in spite of these things, but because of them. We adapt, we innovate, we overcome. Remember this lesson in your perfect memory. Earth is not a world to be conquered. We are not a species to be subjugated. We are humanity, and we will not break." The Nexarian surrender came hours later. Their perfectly ordered society, faced with total defeat for the first time in their ancient history, simply couldn't continue. As the remains of their fleet retreated from the solar system, humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They had become the first species to successfully resist Nexarian conquest. Diana stood at the observation window of the Defiance, watching Earth grow larger as they returned home. "Send word to all resistance cells," she ordered. "The war is over. It's time to rebuild." But she knew this wouldn't be the end. Humanity had proven themselves on a galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same. The species that had valued perfection above all else had been defeated by those who embraced imperfection, who turned chaos into strength, who found power in their ability to adapt and grow. The stars beckoned, and humanity was ready to answer their call.